know, I remember. You remember coming to church on Sundays?
Yeah, I remember coming to church.
9 o'clock mass.
At least 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Or even earlier.
I remember when we used to come. If you got to church late, Monsignor Traversani would be giving the sermon, and if you came in late, you stood up at the back, and he'd call you by your name. And he'd say, "Get up here, sit down."
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And I give you one more I remember like it was yesterday. After Mass, every Sunday, you come out of church, and I remember like it was yesterday, walking down this side of the street, and I would think, geez, how lucky I am. I'm a Catholic, and I just came out of church. I don't know if it did any good, but that was a thought in my mind, you know? Then I would smell the zuku, the sauce being cooked. I can hardly wait to get home and go.
Well, you're so much older than me. I remember my grandmother Philippi over here in Columbia Street, definitely midnight mass for Christmas, Easter. We couldn't get our Easter gifts or baskets until we went to the church, and we went back and told Grandma, we went to the church. Half the time we never went in the church, but we went to the church. So there was good memories, so many weddings here, so people were married here, and unfortunately, people died and their funeral was here today. So there'd be all these little bungalows over here.
Yeah.
All these little homes. You know, the Italians came here, and this was like a second, it was like the Mediterranean. It was a sister city to like Venice. And so all the fishermen, they found another Little Italy here. Before it was known as Little Italy, then it was Middletown, you know, or Ocean View, but here we are now. There's very few little bungalows left. There's a few here. I remember as a kid watching the fishermen out there in the driveway, you know, doing the nets, sewing the nets, getting the drying anchovies out in the garages. So, yeah, the church is the community. And, of course, you have more reminiscing because you're an old man.
Well, yeah, they used to have every year the Marona de Luma parade.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? And we used to march all over Little Italy, all over. And they had the statue. And the main event of the parade was the blessing of the boats. Remember, we used to go down to the bay, used to bless. And this thing was loaded with people, loaded.
Oh, yeah.
And I still have my badge, the Marona de Luma. My grandfather, Onovio Corello, he used to always march with the suit on. And he always marched with his head like this.
Yeah.
I got pictures of him still, always with his head marching down. But they all did. It was a big neighborhood event. Matter of fact, they still have it. They still have the event, yeah.
The neighborhood was fun. We had the scooters. We made scooters. I still have my Little Italy scooter at home. I should bring it down one day and go down the ramp again. I know your favorite when you met your first kiss right over here at Washington School. All these bungalows have been here. As a little kid, my mother rented that apartment, number 2, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And then up the street on 1830 Columbia was my grandmother. I lived with my grandmother for years. My grandfather opened up Cash and Carry Italian Foods, which now is Cash and Carry Italian Foods and Filippi's Pizza Grotto. And I'm 4th generation of Italian foods and serving. Let's go over here. This corner here was, the nun's house across from the church?
Chrome store.
Well, it was a chrome store that used to dip all the chrome. Bayside, we grew up in Bayside, which was a community place to gather, right? And,
don't jump. Bayside offered, first of all, they had the nuns that ran it, okay? And they remember that, and they had a room where you would learn to cook,
right?
Learn to dance,
right?
And if you dance too close to the girls, the monagas will come over and split you up, okay?
Had a ruler there.
We learned a lot of social habits,
it was
okay? Here at Bayside.
Right. Okay. We used to make the lanyards.
Make
lanyards to keep our keys on.
It was a place for the kids to go. Italian immigrants.
Right.
They had a camp. Remember the camp, Camp Oliver?
They had the camp.
Once a year we used to go to camp. It was a hangout between the school and that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I remember the nuns used to babysit me. My mother used to work at Convivio. She would drop me off there. And the nuns used to dress up quite neat back then. They used to come down the steps, and boy, they were strict, but it was fun. It was a community. When we told our parents we're going to Bayside, they were relieved. They knew we were safe. They knew where we were going to be at. And wonderful memories there.
I remember when they were going to go to camp one time, Camp Oliver. I couldn't go. My mother didn't care. My father said, no, I would have fine, I couldn't go. The day they were supposed to go to camp, I'm out playing around. And in this neighborhood, it was so tight-knit that if your mother wanted you, it used to be like an assembly line. Your mother would be calling, hey, Louie, your mother's calling you. Hey, Louie, your mother. Okay.
Yeah.
And I got the word. I ran on the way home, and my father was on the fishing, at the boat.
Yeah.
He called my mother and said, why don't you let him go to the Bayside camp?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what happened. Maybe God blessed him. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I ran on the way home, and I got my stuff and went to camp.
So let's go. Show me where you always talk about this girl you first kissed over here. Now, Washington School, then, of course, we knew was a classic. It was like Washington, D.C. It had the chrome pillars in the front, the step up. I remember as a kid I used to bring my bike, even though it was 2 blocks away, and we brought our bike down the ramp into a basement. If you recall.
That's in the corner. By the
No. It was right over here in the middle of the school.
What ramp?
The ramp that goes down into the basement to store our bicycles. That was a bicycle. Yes, right over here.
I've never seen that.
Because all this was dirt field.
Right.
This is all dirt field.
Right.
Right after, so this corner was the famous store.
That's right.
And it was a little candy store right here on the corner. We used to go up the steps, sneak in, and they used to sell all the wax. Remember the wax tubes? And you used to bite the wax off and drink the Kool-Aid or whatever was in there. Who knows what we were drinking. So that was very well known. Then there was another candy store on that corner up there.
You know, we're talking about that. I just thought of something, too. I ditched school for the first time when I was going here. And Mr. Howell was our principal's name. And a guy named John Townsend, matter of fact, up until one of his family still owns the chicken pie shop. John and I, we ditched. And we went down the Lane Field and watched the Padres play. And we had just a grand old time. At the end of the day, we came by over here, and some of the kids came out to the school and says, hey, they've been looking for you guys. Mr. Howell was really upset. So we didn't stop. We just went home.
Yeah.
I go home. My mother's ironing the clothes. I walk in the door. I didn't know she had the wooden spoon and I'm outside it, and I got it.
So while this was all dirt field and the main school was here, and there were steps going up the side, I think that's where you told me you got your first kiss.
I got my first kiss on Elm Street, the school part, the building.
Right here.
Remember the kindergarten section?
I was in kindergarten.
Okay. In the kindergarten, we used to take a nap, right?
Took a nap.
And you used to bring your towel, lay on the
Lay
towel.
out the mat.
So we get on the towel, and I would see her, and I would scoot on the floor, and I got a kiss from her.
You're bad. You're bad.
I was bad. And she was, I forget.
Mary was her name? Was it Mary?
No, I think it was...
Conchetta?
It was
Name.
I forgot.
It was one of those.
But she was cute. She was cute.
Yeah, well, I would hope so.
Yeah.
And then the school playground was on the end over there. And of course, none of this was here. So I'd be in the playground, and I'd see my Uncle Billy get off the bus from high school, junior high or high. And even though my grandmother lived a block away, he would wave to me. Well, I went with my uncle. Then the school would call my grandmother at Philippi's, Danny's missing. Well, I'm with my uncle, hiding in the backyard, doing a little weenie roast.
Oh, really?
Now we're making smoke. The neighbor, Tarantino, calls my grandmother, your house is on fire. Well, we got chased down the block with a broom. So that was my first day of cutting school at 5 years old.
On the school, I remember this, the sorrows of the, on the school upstairs on the top deck, I can remember, you can see the bay pretty good. And I remember I used to see the boats going in and out. My father one time came home and I was watching him. Also, you remember Mary Asaro?
Vaguely.
Okay, I think she married one of the
One of the guys.
one of the shoe store guys. This is the he had a brother, the musician Sal.
You talk about the Ferrantellis.
Ferrantellis. Her name was Mary Asaro. They lived right there. She was the cutest girl, and that was my girlfriend. I used to look right down into the house all the time.
Yeah.
And she had an Edith was a sister.
Yeah.
She had a couple, two, three sisters.
Mary's still with us. She's still cute, I hear.
Is she? Yes.
Yeah? Well, it's all changed, but we still see it back in the day. So there was a ramp here. We used to go bring our bikes down the ramp below, and he would store our bicycles. On the other side of the school was also pillars with stairs.
Yeah.
And it was a classic old style, like back east, the gymnasium below ground. And I can still smell the gym and hear the basketballs going.
But I'll tell you something else. I bet you did because you were too young. So you remember the stairs went this way, right?
Yeah.
And on both sides of the stairs, this was a big piece of concrete, right?
Yeah.
Then the pillars.
Marble, yeah.
We used to play the game called Hide the Belt. Pete Tarantino, John D'Aliotto, much of the guys. And what we'd do is this. One guy would have a belt. Come around to the grass side, hide the belt. Meantime, all the guys are around the corner. They can't see where he hid the belt. When he said it was okay, we all come running to see who can find the belt. If you found the belt, you don't tell nobody, of course. You get it, and then you get it, and you just hit everybody with it. Hide the belt.
Oh, how exciting that must have
It
been.
was very exciting, okay? Then we used to jump off the ramp, okay? Yeah, jump off the ramp. But the point was, hide the belt was the game to play in the neighborhood.
You guys are very lonely. We played hide with salami. That's another story.
All right, we're on the corner here. What?
No, me and
Over here, watch out.
Me and you.
Watch out, watch
Come
out.
on.
Watch out.
Come on.
This guy here, watch out.
Come on. Then where this building is now, there's another house that I also grew up in, which was Skippy, Andrew Carrero, the Carrero family here. Here was, we used to walk this way through all that to get to Indie Street, to my grandmother's restaurant or store. So this was all Skippy's right here, the Carreros. Now my grandfather, bought this house in 1955. It's still here. It's still Grandma's, which is my mother's now, and my Aunt Mary's. And this is the house I pretty much grew up in. We recently had to redo the front and everything as far as landscaping. But 1830, we all squeezed in this house. My grandmother had 7 children, 5 boys, 2 daughters. My mother's a daughter, of course. And this is where we hung out all our life. From here to the church, back. And we're renting it out right now, of course. But we kind of like to keep it around for historical, but you know, we're all getting older, and who knows what's going to come about. We'll hopefully get $2 million for it someday. But
What are we talking about? 1950?
1955, I was 5 years old. I was with my grandfather and grandmother to see the house, and they bought the house. So my mother's the last of the Mohicans. She's 95 years old. She's doing great. And she's the oldest living Philippi's. The rest died when they're 80, 81, if that. So my mother's still kicking. I sure hope after I take after her. But this is where we all came out of. And in fact, when it was empty, if you recall, the Little Italy Association rented this house for our office for a while.
That's right.
And it was so funny because our secretaries would come in there and they would tell me, Danny, I smelled this white powder every now and then. They smelled my grandmother. because that was my grandmother's bedroom. And they had this aura come around now and then. I said, my grandmother's still here. And they had that smell. Yeah.
I remember your grandmother and your grandfather. I lived right around the corner.
Yes.
And I remember in the mornings I would see both your grandmother and your grandfather walking down the hill. The grandfather used to have the white little cook hat on, and he had a white apron on. So did your grandmother. Your grandfather was a tall man, and they'd be walking down the hill every morning to go to the restaurant.
Yeah, cut through, yeah.
Back then, too, though, next door was the Tarantino family.
Tarantino's.
Tarantino. Sal Tarantino lived across the street.
Yeah.
My cousin Vince Crivello lived next to him. Okay, you had, again I repeat, Sal Tarantino, who was the son of a fisherman and immigrants who became a public defender attorney. Then over here you had Joe Corleone in the corner. There used to be a white two-story house, who used to work on bait barges. Remember years ago his old man had him out in the ocean, and he used to work on bait barges, and he became an attorney, district attorney under Aguirre?
Aguirre, yeah.
Under Aguirre. Those are their old places.
And he's a war hero. He's still with us.
Yeah.
We meet with Sal and Joe every Friday, having our coffee.
Over here in the corner used to be the Piranio family.
Piranio, yeah.
Right in the corner, yeah. And then next to them were the Lococos, then the Shuffaloos. Years ago with the skateboard, okay, besides here, we used to also start on this corner over here with not skateboard, with just skates. And we would go down Columbia Street until we got to the corner, and then we'd have the whip.
Oh, the whip.
And we used to, the last guy used to go down the hill like a bat out of hell. Yeah.
Yeah, it was it. This is where we did the Little Italy scooter that we would make with plank. We would get the 2x2s for steering. We'd get the ball bearings from the truck stop over here. They'd give us ball bearings. We'd carve it out. We'd hammer those wheels on. We had the rope to steer. And in fact, you and I did an article.
Yeah.
And it was like you would start at the top. I would go in the corner, and I would look up and down the street, and I would yell, "Okay, Louie, coast is clear." And you would go down, and the old sidewalks had the big grooves, and you hear clickety-click, clickety-clack, and we'd go out and almost get killed into the street, but it was fun, and we're alive. But I think, was this where Grandma was? This one?
Yeah, I know. I grew up, my mother, dad, and I, on this lower level.
Yeah.
My grandmother lived upstairs by Mina Palestini. And I'll show you a little bit down over here what happens.
Yeah, you used to go up these steps.
Yeah. There used to be, and you can see it right here, there used to be a piece of concrete about this high that would come from the house over to here.
Yeah.
Then you go up the stair. When my mother used to call me, I used to run like hell to come home. And I would be running down the hill, and I jumped over this, and I got caught on it, and I landed right over here, face first. I still have the scar on my tongue from this thing that was over here. Anyway, that's where we lived. My grandmother, God bless her, she'd be up on the porch all the time with her arms over the railing looking at us. Okay? From there, this is why you see your grandmother and grandfather come down.
They would come out.
Over here was the Corona family. Remember Tommy Corona? And his sister was the one that ends up owning the Godfather restaurant, Niga, Marie. Across the street there were two cottages, and I forgot their names.
Two brothers, Bobby and Ronnie.
That's it.
Bonnie and Robbie were there.
Then we had the drugstore. The Bay City drugstore used to be there in the corner.
We used to go in there. I don't know if we paid or stole them. Remember the bubblegum cigars, yellow, pink, and they were bubblegum. We used to get those. I don't think we paid, but you and me. And now I remember this was a bike shop.
Well, that was after the grocery store.
So what was these? There was a grocery store here?
Yeah, the corner store we used to call it. Grocery store.
Okay, it wasn't part of, okay.
Now, the bike shop came after.
Came after that?
Yeah. But more importantly now, I'm going to have Danny explain. Remember?
No. Stop.
I know, but I'm still saying it to you.
Don't say you're going to have Danny.
I'll let my friend explain.
No, you're not talking to anybody.
Ooh, I'm talking to you.
Say I'm not having my friend.
I'm talking to you.
No, you're just me and you.
I'm going to have this guy explain.
No, you're not telling anybody. You're having me explain.
Would you please explain to me who put this thing? What is this thing?
Luigi. They're not here. It's just you and me.
Okay.
You're not saying I'm going to have Danny explain.
Okay.
It's okay. Just keep going. It's all right.
We're talking. All right. You know what? Remember when we were in the Little Italy Association?
I do recall.
And they put something here. What did they put here?
To honor the famous Marine John Barcelone. This is a war hero. This is what we erected many years ago. We designed this after him. We got permission to come out and dig into the street. And so these are, and a lot of the people you can see donated time. These are the men that didn't come home here, Ballestieri, all these people. These were our lost warriors. And of course, in memory of the Siegel family, of course, donations. The Falcos, which started the grocery store on the corner. The Falcos market, and it turned it into Big Bear markets down the road.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this was it. I remember when we were astonished when they built these condos up here on the corner. We thought, condos in Little Italy?
I know.
And we were astonished that they wanted $76,000 for those. We weren't thinking then we should have bought the whole place, but yeah, now they're worth millions. But $76,000 when they first built it.
Yeah.
Now that little house there, if you recall, was on Kettner Street.
Right.
And they donated that to the Little Italy Association. But the Historical Society would only let you move a historical home one time. They wouldn't allow us to put it somewhere until we used it. So the wife kept it. She told, move it around here and build all this around it. And which they did. Was that Mrs. Siegel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a classic house from the early 1900s right there.
That little house was, but the whole block, there used to be a big house that was surrounded by these huge palm trees. They were huge.
Is that where the gas station was then?
No, the gas station was right here. It was the Shell gas station.
Shell gas station.
Shell gas station, right. But there was this big house over there with these huge, huge palm trees. The little house wasn't there. Then it came the laundry.
So down here, and this empty lot, was another apartments, 2-story, like up there. So this was the same size lot, and there was also a row, a U shape of apartments here too. Because I remember the dirt driveway, and I used to play here.
Shoemaker out here.
Jim, this is a shoemaker. Jim's shoemaking while you wait. Right here.
What was it? Was it a Damo?
I don't remember if he was the Italian guy or not.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Shoemaker.
Maybe it was a Damo.
And the cottages were here.
The cottages were here. Because this is where we used to play marbles in the dirt.
Yeah.
This is where we played marbles with the big agate. And we played marble here. That's the back end of my grandmother's house right there, the yellow house. And of course, your grandmother up there.
It used to be, you correct me if I'm wrong. From my backyard, I could see over here, there was a guy that was an taxidermist.
Yes.
Frank.
Over here on this side.
Frank, yeah.
Yes.
And you used to see inside all the stuffed animal heads and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm wrong. It's not the barber. It was the shoemaker.
I know you're wrong.
Jim Adamo.
Yeah.
His daughter used to play the accordion.
Okay. So
Greece.
this was it?
Yeah.
And Marie Rigirillo lived upstairs, and we used to go up there. These were also homes and bungalows all through here. So my grandmother and uncle purchased all these homes. There was 2 homes here, 2 homes up there. They purchased it. We turned it into a parking lot for, of course, my family's Italian restaurant. and cash and carry Italian food. So that started kind of the modernization. Now above here where it says Philippi's, up top were like 4 little apartments. Okay? And below this, on this one corner here, was the Roma Inn bar. And I used to go out of, my grandfather would send me out of cash and carry to go into the bar to tell whoever your order's ready. And they come out, pick that up.
The owner, the Contessa, they used to call her, the Contessa.
Contessa?
Used to own the bar, yeah. The counter.
So that was the Roma Inn bar.
Watch out over here, you get killed.
And of course, on that side where it says famous 1950, that's where my grandparents started cash and carry Italian foods. So we had cash and carry, then we had Tommy the Butcher, right? Tommy Battaglia, Busy Bee,
Oh yeah.
the Falcos was on the corner.
And across the street is the Tarantino family.
The Tarantino's still here.
The Yellow House is Pecoraro family, they're still here.
Right.
I don't know who lived over there. Zalezzi used to own those places. I don't know if they still do or don't.
Yeah.
Over there in the driveway, they used to do the fishing nets. Remember?
Right here, Tarantino, they would do the nets right there. We'll have a picture somewhere. Do the nets. You know, you think back how wonderful. Now that we're older, of course, we think back how wonderful the community was. And we're trying to get the young people to come back to it. You know, and that's why we're trying to start that Heritage Commission, Little Italy Heritage Commission, to let people know these little stories that are forgotten, and people like us are slowly going away, but like all those apartments, Tarantino House, that's still the same. That little house over there, 1802, I think it's the second smallest home in San Diego, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Yeah. Then, of course, on the sidewalk, we still have the ring where they used to tie the horses up. Because this was a buggy. This was the main dirt road, and it was a buggy. And there's a ring still there, but they used to tie up the buggy and the horse. It's right on the end there. But I asked my grandfather when I was little, Grandpa, what's that ring for? And to scare me, he says, when the tide comes in, the boat ties up here.
Sure.
And I always thought, uh-oh, we're going to have, really? So this is, of course, my grandfather and grandmother's store, cash and carry Italian foods, and still going strong. They're in the 4th generation of overseeing this. This was a livery stable. We used to park our cars in here.
When the guys used to go fishing, they used to park their cars in there.
All the cars in here.
You know, there was a time, excuse me for interrupting, maybe you might remember, if you look at this road today, you got a mob down here. There was a time you can shoot a cannon down India Street. There was
not
nobody.
hit anybody.
Never hit anybody. And look at it now.
So then, we used to go, Tommy the Butcher. And he was, after the livery stable, was Tommy the Butcher. And all his kids go in there, and he used to give all the kids, that's when he sold the real big hot dogs. And he'd give us all the hot dogs and tell us, you know, get lost, kids.
Who had the corner store over there?
The corner store?
Yeah.
The Tate's Market?
The Tate's?
Tate's Market?
Barezzi's.
Well, on the corner was Bernardini.
That's about
Bernardini.
Right.
I think Tate's Market was next to it.
Yeah.
This was Tommy the Butcher. Tommy the Butcher, right?
Right.
And Tommy the Butcher knew, I wish he was alive. He had stories you wouldn't believe. Tommy remembered everything.
I remember one time at DeFalco's down there, they used to, remember the bubblegum machines?
Yes.
They used to have them in the front there. I don't know what happened, and one of us was messing around with it and it broke. And the bubble gum was all falling over the street. Everybody was grabbing it and running like hell.
Probably you that broke it up.
I didn't break it. I didn't break it.
Then there was the bakery on the corner down there. And they used to wheel the bread out in racks to cool off. And pretty much the same. The Princess Pub used to be called the Chez Paris bar, right there. Been there for years. All the rest I remember as a kid were just little bungalows, all the way, little row homes, bungalows.
Now, I remember the Chez Paris.
Chez Paris.
Okay. I'll never forget one time I was newlywed. And I was trying to save up to go on the cruise. My first trip, first vacation. You know, things were tight.
Yeah.
So one time I'm cruising on there and I see my Uncle Dominic's car parked by the shade. I figured, oh, my uncle's in there. So I stop, I go in, hey, Louis, come on, sit down. So we sit down, we had a drink. He says, well, you getting ready to go to the cruise? I said, Uncle Dominic, I says, I don't think so. He says, what do you mean? I said, well, you know, it's kind of expensive. Bullshit. He says, you're going. He says, you don't drink, you don't take drugs. He says, you're going. We went on the cruise. I'll never forget that.
You went on the cruise.
Went on the cruise.
Did he slip you a little something?
He took care of it.
Ah.
I'll never forget that. Yeah.
And I think all the, you know, unfortunately, San Diego back then didn't have the mindset of preserving historical buildings. You see Gaslamp, they got the couple of row homes there, you know, all that. San Diego didn't, the mentality, you know, they tore down Washington School, which is a classic, because they said of earthquake. The people didn't protest. If they would have protested, they would have retrofitted it, and that glorious school would have been there.
That's right.
When the freeway came through in the 60s, and they moved all these Italians out, they moved all the Italians out. They went to Claremont, they went to La Mesa. The freeway came through, destroyed the tuna fleet. You know, we were the world's largest tuna fleet. We had, what, 4 canneries here.
Right.
Your father was part of that. And all the women, they knew, they saved the money. The men that come from fishing, they get their cigars, they go gambling, play with them. The wives worked in the cannery, and they hid that money. And all these little row homes that are worth millions is because of the wives. The wives bought all this up to bring their family over from the old country.
Because it truly was a community. It was where the Italians settled out here.
Lumberyard, up there to the left. You were a bad boy, and so was I.
I got a story.
Jumped the fence to get the lumber to build the Little Italy cart. And of course, you got in trouble.
We jumped the fence at night, and we posted one guy on top of the fence to look around if no cops are coming.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we had the guys inside. Got the lumber, but all of a sudden somebody saw the cops, or somebody, and everybody scattered, and we all ran home.
Yeah.
Okay? The next day, somebody got busted, and I didn't know who it was. The next day I find out it was one of the twins, Nino Sardina. He got caught. Everybody else, nobody knew anything, you know.
Yeah.
But we did. They had nice lumber
yeah.
for the scooters,
Yeah.
for the coasters.
We
Yeah.
made the scooters. And then over here was the Pepsi or Coke place.
Yes.
And they had the great carts, the wooden crates. Well, we used to get our skates, turn the crate up, put handles on it, right?
And put Coke bottles.
Coke bottles for headlights,
Okay.
all that.
My father, God love him, one time I didn't have the scooter. So he took me with him. He had the watch on the boat. I forgot what it was, Campbell's or whatever, for 2 mornings. And he got lumber from all the places. Danny, he built me like a soapbox, I swear to God.
Yeah.
It was huge, it weighed a ton. Got it, and I finally took it down at the school over there like a tank. You know? And that was my scooter. But I liked what you're talking about. I liked the little scooters.
I still have it. I still have it. The Danny Boy one, still have it. I should bring it down, but when they had the first soapbox derby at Washington School, I brought my cart, and I got to do the first run down the street on the cart. There's so many stories.
Let's only hope that it can remain alive.
That's what we're planning to do.
Right, I understand.
You know, Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yeah, I agree, Dan. Thanks, buddy. Hold it. Hold it. We're here.